Welcome to our channel. Let's dissect the books that can change our outlook on life, change our mindset, change our character rights, so that we can do better later.
Title: Islam and the Destiny of Man. Author: Charles Le Gai Eaton. First published 1985. Publisher: the Islamic Texts Society, Cambridge, United Kingdom. Language: English. This book has become a modern classic in Islamic literature, especially in the English-speaking world. Eaton, formerly a British diplomat and a convert to Islam, offers a deeply personal and philosophical exploration of the Islamic worldview, aimed at readers both inside and outside the faith. The book addresses not just theology and rituals, but the destiny of the human soul, the crisis of modernity, and Islam's role as a spiritual path in a fragmented world. Now let's start. Introduction. A search for meaning in the modern world. What does it mean to be human in a world where meaning is often lost amid materialism, confusion, and fractured identities? In Islam and the Destiny of Man, Charles Le Gai Eaton offers more than an introduction to a religion. He offers a meditation on existence itself. This is not a book about doctrines or laws. It is a personal journey, told with the wisdom of a man who lived both in the West and within the spiritual heart of Islam. Eaton, a British diplomat who converted to Islam, writes not as a preacher, but as a guide, someone who found in Islam the answer to a question he had been asking his entire life: what is the purpose of man? Part 1. The Crisis of Modernity. Eaton begins with a piercing diagnosis of the modern world. He speaks of spiritual desolation, of a culture that has abandoned transcendence for the superficial comforts of consumerism. We are told we are free, but free for what? Free to accumulate, to consume, to forget. In this fragmented landscape, the human being becomes a stranger to himself. Religion, once the guiding star of civilization, has been relegated to the margins, replaced by ideologies that fail to nourish the soul. Part 2. The call of Islam into this chaos. Eaton introduces Islam, not as a foreign creed, but as a perennial truth. He describes Islam as a religion that is not merely a set of rules, but a way, a complete way of being that connects the soul to its divine origin. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Islam, he says, does not require blind faith. It invites understanding, reflection, and deep contemplation. The Shahada, there is no God but God, is not a dogma but a recognition of the ultimate reality behind the veil of appearances. It is the declaration that all of creation is united by a single source. Part 3. The Journey of the Soul. Remembering our divine origin. To understand Islam is to understand the human being, not merely as a biological creature or a rational actor, but as a soul clothed in flesh. In Islam and the Destiny of Man, Charles Le Gai Eaton leads us into the inner terrain of the self, where the real drama of human life unfolds, not in public achievements or material gain, but in the silent journey of the soul back to its divine origin. Islam begins from a startlingly dignified premise, that the human being is not a fallen, inherently corrupt creature, but a vicegerent, Khalifa of God on earth. This is no small claim. It affirms that within every person lies the potential for divine reflection. The soul, in its essence, was created pure and conscious of its creator. Before birth, in what is called the Primordial Covenant, Mithaq, every soul testified to God's lordship. "Am I not your Lord?" They said, "Yes, we bear witness." Quran 7:172. This moment is not a poetic metaphor. It is the spiritual memory that Islam says lingers deep in the heart of every human being. Our journey then is one of remembrance, dhikr, of waking up from the forgetfulness that clouds this original knowledge. But how does one return to that sacred awareness? Eaton emphasizes that the soul must be purified through a disciplined life. Islam offers a path, not only of belief, but of practice, because the human being is not just intellect, but body and spirit, emotion and will. The 5 pillars of Islam are not arbitrary duties. They are the instruments through which the soul is reshaped and realigned with its origin. Prayer, salat, is not simply a ritual obligation. It is a reminder, 5 times a day, that life is not ours to possess, but a trust. Each movement, each verse recited, returns the self to its center. The act of bowing and prostration is symbolic of the soul's surrender to its creator, a way of humbling the ego so that the light of the divine can enter. Fasting, Sawm, in Ramadan, is not a test of endurance, but a purification of the senses. It quiets the physical appetites and allows the soul to speak. In a world filled with noise and endless stimulation, fasting teaches stillness, and in stillness, the soul remembers. Zakat, the giving of alms, is not a tax, but an act of detachment. It severs the illusion of ownership. What you have is not yours. It is on loan from God, and through giving you draw nearer to Him. Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, is perhaps the most dramatic metaphor of the journey. It is the outward enactment of the inward return. Millions from every corner of the globe strip away worldly identity, wealth, race, status, and stand together in unity. But the deeper pilgrimage is always inward, the journey to the heart, where God has placed His sign. And then there is the Shahada, the testimony of faith, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Eaton reminds us that this is not merely an entrance formula, it is the central metaphysical truth. There is no ultimate reality except the divine. Everything else is fleeting, perishable, and illusory. In embracing this truth, the soul begins to break free from the false idols it has worshipped: ego, ambition, desire, fear. The soul is not at peace until it finds itself in harmony with the real, al-Haq. But Eaton also speaks with compassion. The journey is not linear. It is full of failure, of confusion, of nights of doubt, and yet God's mercy exceeds our sins. Do not despair of the mercy of God, says the Quran, 39:53. For Eaton, this is one of the most beautiful aspects of Islam, that it speaks not only to saints, but to sinners. The doors of return are always open. He also warns against reducing Islam to mere outward form. The shell without the kernel is dry and lifeless. The soul must be nourished by deeper knowledge, marifah, and by love. Indeed, love is not foreign to Islam. The Quran says, He loves them and they love Him. 5:54. This mutual love is the engine of the journey. Without love for the divine, religion becomes a burden. But with love, even the hardest trials are transformed into steps toward union. The great scholars of Islam, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. The sages, the mystics, the poets have always understood this. Rumi speaks of the soul's yearning like a reed torn from its reed-bed, crying to return. Al-Ghazali writes of the heart as a mirror tarnished by neglect, which must be polished to reflect the light of God. And so the journey of the soul, as Eaton presents it, is not a retreat from life. It is an immersion in a higher order of life. Life animated by remembrance, by humility, by longing, and by the certainty that we are never truly alone. Each step taken in sincerity draws the traveler closer, and with every step, the soul rediscovers the divine spark within it, the echo of that eternal moment when it first said, "Yes, you are my Lord." Part 4. Islam and the West. A bridge or a barrier. One of Eaton's most powerful contributions is his attempt to bridge the seemingly unbridgeable gap between Islam and the modern West. He acknowledges the tensions, the misunderstandings, the distortions on both sides, but he also believes that Islam can serve as a mirror for the West, a reminder of the sacred, of limits, of humility before the infinite. He argues that Islam's destiny is not to dominate the world, but to preserve the knowledge of God in a world that is rapidly forgetting him. Part 5. Destiny and the Divine Will. What is destiny in the Islamic view? Eaton explores the profound idea that nothing in creation is accidental. Everything has a place in the divine tapestry. This does not mean fatalism, but rather a call to trust in a higher wisdom. Human beings are not powerless. They have choice, responsibility, and the potential to transcend. But their freedom must be aligned with the divine will. Otherwise, freedom becomes chaos. Part 6. The beauty of submission. To submit to God, Islam, is not to surrender one's humanity, but to fulfill it. Eaton challenges the Western fear of submission, showing how, in the Islamic worldview, submission is the gateway to peace, order, and beauty. Islam, he argues, is a religion of balance, between body and soul, between law and love, between this world and the next. It is not an escape from life, but a sanctification of life. Conclusion. A light in the darkness. Charles Le Gai Eaton does not offer easy answers. He offers depth, reflection, and an invitation to reconsider what it means to live meaningfully. In Islam and the destiny of man, he opens a door for believers and seekers alike. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.